for me, I'm looking at this question that they have in Minneapolis about getting rid of the Minneapolis Police Department. And as a black man, I will vote yes to get rid of the Minneapolis Police Department. You will say, well, why would you do that, Mr. Cruz? All this shooting, all this violence, we gotta have police. There's no way, nothing, we gotta have police. Well, there were black people during the time of slavery who said, we gotta have, what we gonna do without the slave master? What we gonna do if they let us free? Where we gonna go? How we gonna survive? Right? So there's an abolitionist movement right now in Minnesota that wants to abolish the police. There was an abolitionist movement in the 1700s, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, that wanted to abolish slavery. Okay? So just real quick.
Here are a few things you need to know to sound smart about the Fugitive Slave Act. To begin, all of it goes back to the Constitution. Article 4 of the Constitution has a clause that we call the Fugitive Slave Clause, which orders states to deliver up fugitives from labor, the euphemism for runaway slaves, when they are requested by slaveholders. That clause gets translated into the first 1793 statute, which is a civil statute about the returning of these fugitives from labor. That was a law that wasn't well enforced according to Southern slaveholders. They complained about it bitterly, especially in the 1840s. And that's what led to the creation of the 1850 Fugitive Slave Act that was part of the Compromise of 1850. This 1850 statute, this was much tougher than the earlier one. They punished people who harbored runaways, members of the Underground Railroad, with both civil penalties and criminal penalties, including up to 6 months imprisonment if they were caught and prosecuted successfully. This was a very controversial measure. It was draconian in theory, but in practice, it wasn't well enforced. The Underground Railroad was alive and well in the North in the 1850s. There are more documented escapes than rendition hearings in the years before the Civil War. There were dozens and dozens of people who were tortured and imprisoned in the South because of helping fugitives, but not under federal law, under state slave statutes. The lack of enforcement of this federal law is what led many Southern states to complain in their secession ordinance, for example, in 1860 and 61. What they were complaining about was Northern state laws that they thought interfered with the federal system. These are called personal liberty laws, anti-kidnapping statutes that many Northern states passed to try to protect Black people from being unfairly accused of being runaways. Ultimately, the fugitive crisis is one of the major causes of the coming of the Civil War.
Young people in large numbers came out and joined what became known as the Red Guard.
Now that was just a little bit about the Fugitive Slave Act law that was passed. And because that is the origins of policing in not Minnesota, but the origins of policing, I would have to vote yes on getting rid of the police department so we can create, I think the Minneapolis Police Department was created in 1856, 2 years after the St. Paul Police Department. The St. Paul Police Department is the oldest police department in the state of Minnesota. The Minneapolis Police Department is the biggest police department in the state of Minnesota. And both of these were being formed while Dred Scott was in military bondage at Fort Snelling. So I just wanted to talk about that real quick and just go over that and why we probably should start over when it comes to addressing policing in the Twin Cities. I'd like to thank you guys all for tuning in real quick. We're going to jump back into some quick music here. Again, not to forget. So yeah, the origins of the police in America coming out of slave catching. So as a Black man, if I know that the origins of policing come from slavery, I would want to get rid of the police department and start something new, because policing is directly connected to slavery in America. So that means that we should want a new form of policing. I hear some black people on the air arguing about, we need the police. We can't survive without the police. Well, no, that's incorrect. And we should start over. So to the audience on YouTube, Facebook, just had to holler at you real quick about the history, where policing came from, and why you should vote no. All right? Peace. Or why you should vote yes on the question in Minneapolis about getting rid of the police department. All right? Peace. And the current police department in Minneapolis take over close to 50% of the budget in Minneapolis. Some of that money could be going towards housing. Some of that money could be going towards rec center. Some of that money could be going towards after school programs, year-round employment for our youth, and setting up a reparations fund for the American descendants of chattel slavery. Thank you guys for tuning in. Peace.